Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausan Pereira. It's good to be back after a brief hiatus. Now, this century has seen a transformational growth in technology. Technology over the last few decades has been rapidly evolving, changing the way we think, work, and live. When we talk of technology today, the focus is largely on artificial intelligence. Governments and organizations around the world are investing in and focusing heavily on AI. The pandemic has led the world to look for new solutions for several problems through artificial intelligence. In the big picture today, we will analyze how artificial intelligence can be used for social empowerment. Joining me on the program right now are Abhishek Singh, CEO, National E-Governance Division, Mausam, Professor, IIT Delhi, and Subimal Bhattacharjee, Cyber Technology Expert. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Abhishek Singh, I'd like to begin the program with you first. Let's talk about this RAISE 2020 summit, because everyone is looking forward to it. It's a week-long summit or a 5-day-long summit, that is starting on Monday and finally ends on Friday. Tell us more about it.
The RAISE 2020 is being launched by Honorable Prime Minister today at 7 p.m. India Standard Time, and it will be a showcase event over the next 5 days in which we will have speakers, more than 300 speakers across 45 sessions, who will be deliberating on various ways, various aspects of artificial intelligence with regard to the research, with regard to compute capability, with regard to potential of AI, and with regard to how AI can be used for revolutionizing, transforming healthcare, agriculture, natural language processing, smart mobility, and learning and education. So the endeavor is to bring stakeholders from academia, from industry, from startups, from government, from across the world to brainstorm, to build up a roadmap for responsible AI. AI, as we all know, is the biggest technological disruptor in our times. It has a potential to create, to add almost $15 trillion to the world economy and almost $1 trillion to the Indian economy. India has been in the forefront as far as providing AI-trained skill power personnel to the tech workforce in the world. India has a storehouse of AI-led startups which are working, but we want to position India as the garage of artificial intelligence, as a place where the world can look for solutions related to artificial intelligence. And any solution which works for healthcare or education or agriculture in a country like India, then it will have a lot of application across the world. So we are positioning India as a leader in AI through this event, and we want to. This will mean a lot for our AI companies, for AI startups, and it will lead to creation of a lot of jobs in the days to come. So this is what the endeavor is, and we are happy to mention that almost 57,000 people have registered for this event from across 139 countries so far. So this is a truly global event being conducted on a virtual platform over the next 5 days, and we look forward for more and more people joining to this Responsible AI for Social Empowerment Summit.
Okay, absolutely. Mausam, let me bring you to the picture now. Let's understand, what is the potential, first and foremost, of artificial intelligence. How much of it have we been able to tap? How much more is there to be tapped? And what are the limitations too as far as artificial intelligence is concerned?
Thank you, Frank, for having me at the show. This is a very pertinent question. I completely agree with Abhishek that AI is the technology of the present. AI will be the technology of the future. It is going to really impact our day-to-day life. And I think it is very important to think about in what ways can AI benefit. And when I think about AI, you can think about efficiency. You can think about doing some of the jobs that humans are really good at, but doing them at par with them or doing them better than them, or maybe creating slightly different capabilities than them. And this can get used in a wide variety of applications. So you name any application and you will be able to find so many uses of AI where new disruptive technologies can come in. So let's take an example of healthcare, for example. In healthcare, we know that the doctors are overworked. In some rural villages, we don't even have any doctors. When we have a heart attack, we have to deal with the road system in order to reach the hospital. We cannot predict when we are going to have a heart attack. When we leave the hospital, we don't know whether we are coming back or not. And there are a lot of there are a lot of prediction that AI can give in this scenario that will really benefit healthcare. For example, AI can create a diagnosis system. Now, it will be a predictive diagnosis system. It will not be as good as the human doctor. Sometimes it may have different capabilities. Sometimes it will do a better job because it has a lot of data. Sometimes it will do a worse job because humans are, the doctors are really trained in this. But imagine a scenario where in a village there is no doctor whatsoever, then we can probably create an AI system there, and they might be able to do your first level of diagnosis. Similarly, for treatment, people are talking about personalized medicine these days, where each individual has their own genome sequence, slightly different gene sequence, and maybe for that we can target the medicines, and so on and so forth. There are predictive models that are coming in where you wear a biosensor and it can predict your heart attack before the heart attack actually happens, so that you can gain an hour, gain 2 hours, sometimes gain 24 hours to reach the hospital in time to deal with the event that is going to happen. Now, many of these situations cannot be done by humans today and may not even be possible by humans tomorrow, because the supply for skilled manpower in healthcare will remain limited. And here AI system could really benefit. Similar examples exist in education, where in many cities and villages we don't have high quality teachers, and a teacher is dealing with 50 to 70 students. AI system can really augment the teacher and benefit. In agriculture, we are talking about similar scenarios where the AI system can predict which pests are affecting the crops automatically, when to irrigate the field, which crops to sow in a certain time, and so on and so on and so on. So in my opinion, the possibilities are incredible. You think about any particular vertical, you will be able to find various uses for predictive technology, prescriptive technology, where a lot of data can be provided, where the AI system can be trained by the lot of data. So that is about the potential. You also asked about limitations. And I want to point out that while there is a huge excitement in the field of AI, and I am an AI researcher, I share the excitement, AI has not been solved completely. There are a lot of challenges that we need to still resolve in order to make AI really successful in real world scenarios. So some challenges are the challenges of bias and fairness. For example, AI is trained on data. Now, we humans have some biases. Sometimes it's in the form of racism, sometimes it's in the form of color, discrimination, caste discrimination. Now, these biases will exist in the data also. But because AI is learning from data and AI doesn't know these biases upfront, it may amplify the biases. And so even the data maybe was 60% racist or 50% racist, but the AI system may become 80% racist or 90% racist. There are other challenges. We don't know why the AI system is doing what it is doing. So when it makes a mistake, we don't know how to interact with the AI system to explain it what is going on. The other challenges would be accountability. Who is held accountable? The person who trained the AI system, the AI system itself, the person who bought the AI system. There are legal issues that need to be resolved. Then there are issues of communication. AI systems don't know how to communicate with humans. I have a worker, I can talk to the worker can give me answers, I can understand what the worker is doing. With an AI system, I can't really easily talk to the AI system. And if the AI system is doing things that I don't want it to do, how do I communicate? So there are lots of challenges, lots of limitations that we need to answer collectively as AI researchers and domain expert researchers when we start thinking about applying AI in the real world. But that said, the possibilities are immense, and I think we should tread carefully forward by improving the possibilities while handling the limitations on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. All right. So the possibilities are limitless. The challenges, of course, are there. Just like anything else in the world, the initial hiccups and challenges need to be addressed as well. As and when we address them, of course, the possibilities are limitless, and we can achieve anything, is what the panelists are suggesting. All right, Subimal, let me bring you to the picture and bring in and talk about another aspect altogether. How AI has been helping in developing new technologies, in helping startups, and in helping tech companies as a whole.
Frank, thank you for having me here. And as we take an initiative to organize a week-long event like RAISE, I would think that we need to go back a little bit and see where all the whole AI play has been in this country at a policy level. If you go back to the June 2018 National Strategy for AI that the Niti Aayog had mentioned and laid out, and then got it activated. Apart from listing the areas where you could see the direct benefit, and particularly for a country like India. Now, even if you today's theme, if you pick up social empowerment, AI for social empowerment, good and bad activities of AI, we all are now kind of familiar. But if you look at even that national strategy paper, they had listed a few of the negative things that were associated that could be covered. Now, when you do this particular effort, when you are doing a collaborating effort where you are getting 57,000 people from across the world from 139 countries, that is where you are optimally trying to put everyone in the ecosystem to generate and deliver something together. And that is where the approach of the government towards AI, machine learning, and digital technology per se in the last 5-6 years have been really useful. You have more than some 150 AI related startups in the country today. They are working. The big tech companies are already using AI. Many times we also hear the negative part or the disruptive power of AI more than the good part. But what I also want to add here, Frank, is that if you look today, we all studied 30 years back. I was a student of mathematics. I studied artificial intelligence as my paper. But 30 years back, we had a different story. But with the advent of the internet technology and the extent to which we are seeing now the application of AI, I think it has been phenomenal. And as a country, the focus areas that we have picked up, the education, the health sector, the other urban, rural, infrastructure build-up, all of the sectors that we are looking at, I think in each of them we are getting a large number of youths and particularly the talents who are in the country, outside the country, getting into this bandwagon. So an atmosphere of or an ecosystem of possibilities where you are starting on you can say a low resource base but a quality resource base, and then going to solve some of your major issues and inculcate that sense of I would say delivering something, or trying to, as the Prime Minister was doing the hackathons, to cover some of the gaps. I think this is where as a strategy we are moving well, and we are seeing a lot of activities on the ground. So it remains how we go along the curve in absolutely a collaborative fashion, looking at all the gaps, as Professor Mausam mentioned, some of these areas that need real-time R&D work as well as application on the groundwork. So I think that whole of the approach of the government by far in this country in fostering the AI culture towards positivity and nation building, I think it's a good step, as a midterm assessment, if I may like to say.
Okay, all right. Taking the discussion forward now. So Abhishek Singh, if you're looking at social empowerment through AI, what are the kind of solutions that we are looking at, and how do we come about these solutions?
See, when we look at the solutions that are available today, and we already tried out, there are many. Like in India, only if you look at the kind of solution that have been used for AI has been used for flood forecasting. The project which began in Bihar, which was used for flood forecasting, now it's been ramped up across the country, in which people are given warnings based on the weather data, based on rainfall data, based on the topography of the region for which we are looking at. So more than 48 hours, before 48 hours, warnings are given in local languages. Then AI is greatly being used for healthcare, whether it is for detecting tuberculosis, or whether it's for breast cancer screening, or whether it is for diabetes retinopathy, wherein the tech tools, based on how you have trained the machine, based on past data, is help to tackle the challenge of shortage of doctors that we have in our country. Then AI is also being used for agriculture. There are so many precision agriculture solutions wherein AI is being used. Yesterday only I was looking at a demo in which somebody has made a robot which climbs some coconut trees to pluck coconuts. Then they have been used for AI has been used for advising farmers with regard to what they should sow, when they should sow, based on integrating data of soil health card, data of weather data from IMD, data of past agriculture records in a particular plot of land, because every year we do yield measurements. So when a crop is sown, when it is harvested, how much fertilizers to give, how much seeds to do, and when to sell, when to harvest, and when and linking up with the market prices. All of it has great applications wherein legacy data can be used to give farmers advisories for doing what they are doing. We have seen use of AI in smart cities and mobility. The entire traffic management that is being done in all the smart cities, whether we are getting the challans and all, it's all done by CCTV cameras. But ultimately, they do image processing and they do smart mapping of the things, and then the information is given. AI has been used for manufacturing, for finding out defects in manufacturing. So there will be multiple applications of AI, and now AI is being used for building learning tools. The other day I saw an AI tool which, based on photographs and videos, you can detect autism in children. And a lot of such applications in healthcare and education are there. In agriculture, it is there, which will directly impact people at the bottom of the pyramid. So what it does is that it offers AI for solving social problems. Vis-a-vis, there are other applications also. Like there are a lot of applications of AI in the entertainment industry, in the entire video industry, the way we produce animation films. So that applications are also there. But the endeavor of India is to take the lead worldwide for building responsible AI solutions, solutions which are ethical, which basically leverage the technology and whatever is available for solving real world problems and helping the people who are in the rural areas, who are devoid of technology in the true sense of the word. So that is what we aspire to do, and that is what this conference will do. There will be a lot of demos, there will be a lot of showcase of startups and solutions which can be adopted by other countries also.
Right. Okay. Since we are here, then Mausam, let's talk about this aspect too. So the status and progress of AI in India, and let's compare it with the very famous services sector and information technology that India has been doing so well with over the last couple of decades. One of the biggest complaints was that not much R&D was being done as far as IT was concerned in India. Is that the same with AI as well?
Yes, Frank, this is a very, very important question. I believe that India is doing well, but it can do much better. The good news is that we are number 5th when it comes to the number of AI jobs in the country, in any country. We are number 5th when it comes to the number of AI companies in the world. But when it comes to the number of researchers and the quality and quantity of research, we slip down to 10th and 13th. Given that we are a billion people plus, and given that, let's say we have less than 2%, I believe, of the world's researchers in our country. This is a number that came out of Niti Aayog's report that Subimal mentioned in his work. So we need to do better, clearly, right? Similarly, and how do we do better? We do better by training a lot of people. So currently it is said that there are 97,000 AI jobs vacant in this country. Now we have lots of people. We have lots of people who are trained in IT and computer science. Why are they not taking these AI jobs? That is because the AI training is very limited. I mean, things are changing in the last couple of years, but who is going to train these people for AI? I mean, AI teachers will train. And who will be these AI teachers? These will be the AI researchers or AI professors who have done a PhD in the field of AI. And that number is actually really, really small for our country. The quality of, I would say there are about 30 to 50 researchers in the country who would be considered like, AI researchers who publish at the topmost AI venues, top AI conferences, top AI journals. But eventually we need to hire more. And it is very hard to hire these people because they are in high demand in industry. They can get like, 10 times the salary. And so this becomes a very difficult challenge to figure out how to bring these people back to the country, how to give them positions such that they stay in academia and then train many more people who then take these jobs, and in the long run, India benefits. I think we can put in money in startups and the startup engineers will start working in the existing AI solutions, but at some point they will get stuck. And when they get stuck, who is going to get them out of that plateau? An AI researcher will get them out of that plateau, and there is a relatively limited number of AI researchers. So because of that, at IIT Delhi, we have just started a school of artificial intelligence. We are trying to figure out mechanisms by which we can incentivize potential faculty members to come back to our country and start doing research in AI. We are going to have a PhD in AI program. So there will be students who will start getting PhDs in AI so that we can try to fill this researcher gap that the country has. But I can tell you that IIT Delhi itself cannot do it alone. I cannot do it alone. We need to collectively do something together. So Niti Aayog had this beautiful phenomenon called CORE, Centers of Research Excellence. And it also had some very other interesting ideas like, transformational AI and compute resources and so on and so forth. But this core idea is extremely important, and we need to create these AI cores, AI centers of research excellence throughout the country, so that they are in each center of excellence, we have 30, 40, 50 researchers doing high quality AI research, training students in the process, and imparting broad scale education. So this is where I think we are. I think we are not 50th, we are not 100th. We are actually all right. We are 10th, 13th or something, but we have to be in the top 3. That's at least my vision, and we are a little while away from getting into the top 3.
Okay, and talking about this vision and taking this particular aspect forward, Subimal, how do we create the perfect ecosystem so that we can be number one in this, in a short while from now?
I think, Frank, there are a large number of things that have to be factored in. I think one of the most important enabling factor is that, the government is very conscious. At the policy level, there is a lot of attention to imbibe AI technologies in more areas than possible. And as Mr. Mausam has mentioned, we need to go and spread this, education ecosystem all across the country, so that there is a focus on taking up and being practically doing things around the AI system. Now, there is a very large market. Even now, an estimation of the Indian AI market is nothing less than about $7 billion. So where the money is, and if you see, many of the private sector tech giants, they are already doing various kind of collaboration. Besides IIT Delhi, even IIT Kharagpur has been doing something with Amazon. Patna has been doing with Flipkart. So there are some of these collaborative efforts that are already happening. And I think what we need to go is a little bit dive down and see where we are able to get even the states also, to involve such, I would say, entities that can solve some of their problems. As Abhishek ji has mentioned, there are many areas that some understanding is already there, that you are able to solve certain problems. Now, how do you efficiently implement them? How do you replicate it to the other states? And also that you have an optimal governance system. That is the main idea behind the whole thing. And so there is an opportunity where jobs are also there in this field. And hence we have to motivate and find a system that where we are able to send many of the youngsters towards AI related functional work, and which leads to a job. I think a whole of the government approach has to be there in place. The research and the education sector have to come in. The functional and the line ministries themselves see a merit in solving this. And on top of all of that, the government's role in trying to involve most of the other countries. Even the June this year effort at that, that global partnership on AI, where actually we are looking at the social dimensional issues to solve a problem. And these are something, that always keeps us at the forefront. And lastly, I want to say that our IT and BPO and the whole, industry ecosystem around that, I think that has been a kind of a motivator as well as an entity that has or a sector that has given us a lot of confidence and courage in this area. I think the computational mindset of many of the generations in this country are really good. These skills have to be really put into practice. So I don't see, that we cannot really meet the demands.
Okay, time now to get quick closing comments from all my panelists with the best way forward, starting first with the Abhishek Singh. A lot has been said about jobs and how there can be several jobs that can be created through AI. But there's this alternate thought as well, where several people suggest that AI will take away jobs. Is that really the case?
AI will not take away jobs. What AI will do is that it will require reskilling of people with regard to what kind of jobs which will be available. And people will move up the ladder with AI kind of jobs. So what it does is that routine manual jobs which involve drudgery, those jobs will go, but value-added jobs will come. And in order to take the complete benefit of this scenario, what we need to ensure is that we have an AI-ready skill force. The government is already working through through the Future Skills Program, which seeks to train people who are already in the workforce, imparting them AI skills and making them AI ready. Over and above, CBSE has introduced artificial intelligence as a subject in class 10th and 12th, and that will ensure that our kids have a firm grounding of artificial intelligence and data science as they go, even before they go to college. Over and above that, with the new education policy, now we have class 6 coding to be taught from class 6 onwards. So this will ensure that the youth, the people who are coming into the job market, they will come with AI skills. I'd also like to mention that very recently we did a program on responsible AI for youth, in which we imparted AI-related training and AI-related courses to students of government schools from across the country, from every state and union territory of the country. We got more than 50,000 students from government schools to register for this course, and more than 11,000 have already completed this course, and they are going ahead to make their AI projects for that. So I have a firm belief that with the combined effort of the Education Department Ministry, of Ministry of Electronics and IT, and with partnerships with our academia and industry, we will be able to have a workforce which will build AI products not only for India but for the world, and we will become the AI back office for the entire world.
Absolutely. All right, Mausam?
I completely agree with Abhishek. It is said that by 2022, which is not too far away, 7.4 crore jobs will go away, but 13.3 crore new jobs will be created. So it is not that AI is going to take away jobs. Clearly, AI is going to create new jobs, but I completely agree with Abhishek. We need to have reskilling. We also need to get our children a little bit more digital ready. Somehow we had this digital divide, and somehow, thankfully, in some sense, maybe due to COVID, a lot of the digital divide is reducing now. Everybody is forced to, be a little bit more digital ready. But I think it is not just the being aware. I mean, you're working on your phones. We have to also get people to engage with robots, build, physical robots, so that people can recognize the fact that in the 10 years from now, we might be dealing with robots all the time.
Sure.
We might be asking the robots to do something. The robots might be giving us back information. The more we can get aware of these possibilities and the more we can internalize them, I think we will be better ready. I also agree with Abhishek that some interesting jobs will be created, and one such job would be jobs where there will be some empathy. I don't expect a robot to have empathy. I don't expect a robot to have emotion. I don't expect a robot to have a very high quality human communication. That is where I think humans will still be important. I also feel that places where rare events happen, things that you cannot train an AI system for, that is where humans will be incredibly important. But then there are some repeated events, some repeated data filling, repeated kinds of things that we do all the time. And those kinds of jobs might be on danger. And I think those people will need to be, we need to figure out how to get them back into the society and what happens when they lose their jobs. This is something that where policy will become incredibly important.
Absolutely. And Subimal, very quick concluding remark from you.
Yeah, well, I think, we can take example from, when the bank computerization happened and everywhere there were, concerns that jobs would go away. And you saw that, how banks became more efficient and more jobs were created. So I don't see, there is really, that fear coming in. Everyone has to reskill as according to the needs of the time and systems. Our children are far much more digital savvy than, possibly we have been. I think we have to orient and guide them towards a scenario where this also becomes a scenario where they pick up jobs in this sector and as well as contribute in the country. And lastly, this country is leading an effort, as you can see in this session that will start from today, responsible AI. So I think that's again something where philosophically we have been showing to the world many things where we lead with our spirituality and philosophical stuff. That's where also I think we'll take a big lead and see that the AI system remains useful for humanity.
Okay. All right. On that note, then I'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that the possibilities are limitless as far as AI is concerned. It can be used practically in every field. For instance, the pandemic has shown us how doctors have been overworked. This is where AI has helped in a big way, thereby helping the healthcare sector, especially in rural India. AI's predictive nature can help in identifying problems beforehand and try and address them before they actually happen, is what the panelists are suggesting. As far as challenges are concerned, when AI makes a mistake, it becomes difficult to address the issue. And if something goes wrong, who will be held responsible? We need proper laws in place to address these kind of issues, is what the panelists have suggested. India is doing well as far as AI is concerned, but R&D continues to be an issue. It needs to be addressed. One way is by increasing training, and the other way is by retaining talent. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.